So I knew pastors were going to be out of town this week, or well, I knew they were going to be out of town this month, suffering for Jesus in Maui. I know that's hard. I'm telling you what, somebody's got to do it. I mean, I try. I was like, let me bear that burden for you. But that's okay. But I didn't realize it was going to be this week. I thought it was like next week, and I knew when they go out of town, I'd probably be speaking. And so on Monday, I found out, oh, by the way, you're speaking Sunday, and I was like, oh. And I've got and I got guys' night out, and the guys' night out was awesome. By the way, thank you guys for coming. I wanted to take a real quick moment also because I was so fried on. I mean, all that stuff kind of goes on. You feel a little overwhelmed, but I want to honor Jesse real quick for just being an amazing man who just showed up. He's an armor bearer. He grilled all the burgers and dogs, and he was just out there the whole time grilling like a fiend. And for all the ladies who showed up and helped serve the men, thank you for fulfilling your role. I'm joking. I know. I'm just playing. Estelle, we could probably edit that one part out if that was to go on the show, if it does. Anyways, but it was an amazing night. Really different kind of message God put on my heart. I'm Pastor B. I'm the student ministries guy, I'm a hype man. I like to crack jokes and make everybody laugh. I like to be an encourager. That's who I am, an encourager. However, I really felt at that time was just a lot of stuff going on, lots of pressure, lots of stress. We all go through these kind of things that God just said, you need to share a word that men need to hear. And women need to hear it too, but it's not girls' night out, it was guys' night out. So in any case, Pastor's been doing this series because of you, and last week he shared this amazing truth bomb. It was just saying that you have no idea how God might use you. And I thought, like, how can I build on such an amazing message? And honestly, I had no idea. I thought I had an extra week, so I was like, okay, Lord, this is going to be all you. And I knew I needed to get with God and really get with him to come up with the perfect message, or at least a message that would speak to hearts. And to be honest, this is going to be a different kind of message. I've never done anything quite like this. And so I almost feel like this is one of those of you who have ears to hear. So there might be some truth in here. Grab whatever God speaks to your heart and hold on to it. So because of you, Champion Church, I climbed a mountain. Telegraph Pass, to be more precise, but it is in the Gila mountain range, so mountain. In any case, I went on this journey to meet up with God. I'm like, all right, Jesus, I'm coming up this mountain. I'm gonna climb that mountain, and you're gonna give me some revelation, a message from you, Lord, because of you, church. And what I learned at the end of my little journey for a message was this, that the journey is the message. Your journey, whatever journey you're on, that's your message. And so my destination, and again, before I can do anything, before you can ever go on a journey, is you have to know where you're going, right? So what's your destination? My destination was the mountaintop. This siren that was calling me from far away, taunting me, saying, you want to get up here because I got a message for you. And I'm like, okay, Lord. And that was it. That was my challenge. That was my destination. And God was going to meet me there and deposit an amazing message. But I had to start. And I think that is the hardest part of any journey, and what trips us up from starting something new. From starting a new job, a new career, a new business, a new hobby, a new calling, whatever it is taking that first step. Because up until this moment, it's only an idea, it's a thought, it's a dream, it's a wish, it's a hope, it's whatever. But it starts to become a reality once you start moving. Now you start moving towards that goal. You start moving towards that destination. And if you've never been to Telegraph Pass, let me tell you something. I'm going to share you a little secret. There is no marked path. There is no start here. They don't give you a little map and go, okay, you just go, there's the mountaintop. And then you look and there's like 5 trails. There's a trail over here, there's a trail over there. And there's this big wide trail, one. And it's like a dirt road. You kind of see it right there. It's like a dirt road. It's all packed and worn. It looks easy. And I'm like, that's probably the one that everybody goes on. And then this verse pops in my head. Because again, I'm going to meet God. And so then God goes, okay, out of Matthew 7:13 and 14. You can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose the way. But the gateway to life, Brandon, is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. So I took the road less traveled by. Hashtag Robert Frost. And that really made all the difference. Hashtag Robert Frost. Anybody know Robert Frost? Okay, fine, whatever. Some of you get it. And those of you who don't, uncultured swine. Anyways, joking. That's from Toy Story. I quote movies all the time just so you're like, he called me a swine. It's okay. So now, mind you, I heard the verse in my head and I followed it. And I'm walking down this. I take this little weird little path off to the left, and it was rocky and it was uncomfortable. But I was trying to keep my thoughts focused on the destination, the finale. It was just, like I said, it was frustrating. You know, you're trying not to turn your ankle or twist your ankle, and then there's like holes in the ground. And I know there's like, you're kind of like, oh, that looks look. No, if I'd gotten a little bit further and taken a picture down, it was like a 5-foot little drop, and that's like right in the middle of this little skinny path because the water had gone through or something like that. And so you got to like watch where you're walking and make sure you're not going to fall, you're not going to roll, and all these things. But it was making it hard to focus on the destination. The final destination was the mountaintop, but this road is just really awkward. And then this verse pops into my head, Proverbs 15:24. It says, the path of life leads upward for the wise. They leave the grave behind. And I started thinking like, okay, I'm focusing so much on this path and I'm not recognizing and I'm not making sure that I'm actually going up, because it's really easy to be distracted, to take your eyes off the prize. And I'm like, this is the path of life. This is the path of life, because even though it's rocky and even though it's awkward and uncomfortable, I am moving up slowly but surely towards my destination. And I thought, again, as awkward and weird and uncomfortable as it is, the reward at the end, meeting up with God and getting the message, the perfect message for you because of you. I climbed up rocky hills and down rocky hills, and along the way, I saw evidence of other travelers. Can you see the soda cans? There's a water bottle. There was just, as I'm walking along, I'm just kind of getting slightly annoyed. I'm like, how lazy and disrespectful can people be? I'm on a journey to meet God, and I got to put up with people's trash along the way, right? I could stop and pick up the stuff, and I could kind of go up and clean after everybody else and picking up all their things that they just kind of left around, but I didn't bring anything to put it in. And the last thing anyone wants to do is carry around other people's garbage, right? And then it got me thinking, how many times do we do that? Someone decides to bring their garbage into our life, and soon their garbage becomes our garbage, and then you both stink, and then suddenly you're off your path because you're carrying all this garbage, and you're constantly, and you take on this role to be the garbage carrier of everyone, and then you're nowhere near your goal anymore, because your goal was supposed to get closer to God, but in the midst of it, you thought, no, I'm supposed to be carrying everybody's garbage. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So I said no to the other people's garbage. Guarding my heart, focusing on God. I'm moving forward. I'm going to keep on going. So I ignored it, kept moving forward. It's kind of a funny thing. I don't know if you've can connect to this, but whenever you take a journey and you undertake a journey, sometimes you think that it doesn't really look that far, but your pulse has been steadily building up. Your breaths are becoming more labored. And when you look up to see the destination, it doesn't look like it's getting any closer. And I honestly started thinking, maybe I should just go to Fortuna Pond. Bring a fishing pole. Fishermen could totally use a really cool. I come up with I'm like trying to bargain with God now. Like, okay, God, I know we said the mountaintop, but couldn't you just like meet me at the pond, like you did that a lot with the disciples, walked on the water. Maybe we could try. So I'm like trying to bargain with God because I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm really supposed to be doing because my flesh was saying this isn't fun anymore. Right? And I wasn't even at the mountain yet. It's like a mile and a half to get to the actual start of Telegraph. And the thing is, it's easy to quit when times get tough. It's easy to drop and change direction and change course when the wind's not blowing your way. And I thought, God, God's calling me in this direction, but I didn't think it was going to be this much work. And you can be called and you can be anointed and you can have the Bible memorized for all I care. But you better believe if God is calling you to it, the enemy is going to throw everything in his arsenal to stop you. Or at best, make you change course. At best, make you deviate. And then this verse pops into my head. Galatians 6:9. It says, so let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessings if we don't give up. God's like, B, don't give up. I know you're tired. I know you're sore. I know you just want to I know you want to go to the pond, but don't give up because there's a reward. And it was like God telling me, I'm not done with you yet. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but God's not done with you yet. He's not done with you yet. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what you once did and then suddenly you're not doing anymore, or you may feel like you're too old or you're too young or whatever the excuse may be that the enemy's been throwing at you. And I'm here again to tell you, God is not done with you yet. So I didn't quit. I kept going. Remember what I said about the enemy trying to distract you? You'd think he would quit when you keep going. You're just like, no enemy, no enemy, no enemy. But you would think, now, he's going to keep throwing things at you. Now, that looks like an informational stand. You're walking up. This is the entrance now. So now I'm actually finally climbing. I'm at the base of the mountain. And you see this little informational brochure type thing. And you're like, oh, hey, it's informational. But no, it's a heads up to all the deadly animals in the area. It's like, hey, they got snakes. They got crazy lizards. There's like leopards and bunnies. Just, hey man, those things, pointy teeth. But don't allow yourself to get distracted. The enemy is going to try and distract you. And now remember, I'm going through this because of you. Proverbs 15:19 says, a lazy person's way is blocked with briars, but the path of the upright is an open highway. So you can see these distractions and all these warnings. And a lot of times when you're moving towards God, you're getting closer to God, people will start coming at you and warning you about, what they're saying, or what this is happening, or the government, or insert whatever kind of threat there is, how dangerous it is. Oh, that kind of minute. Oh, you don't want to go there. Oh, you don't want to say that. You don't want to. But you know what? That ends up becoming the excuse because those briars really aren't there in the first place. We just kind of keep making it up. Well, I can't go that way. I might get an owie. So I began the grueling march up the mountain. And anybody who's actually made it to the true beginning of Telegraph Pass knows what I'm talking about. So I began to climb and climb and climb. And it's, it's a road. They've kind of done it where they've got kind of concrete-y stuff, and it's a road, and you're going along, but it's not like you're just walking like this. You're like you're doing the luge or something in the Olympics. You're like this the whole time. You're kind of doing this march up, and as I'm going up, and I'm kind of like focusing on my feet a lot because, again, I was just like, breathe, don't die, And then I see this pop up in front of me. Those aren't rocks. When you're moving towards God, get ready to get pooped on. Get ready to deal with a lot of other people's excrement. It's annoying, it's smelly, it's inconvenient, it's usually right in your path, and it's very discouraging. But a wise pastor's wife once said to me, she says, don't look at it like poop. She goes, think of it as fertilizer. I know, you're reaching, but what is fertilizer, right? It's manure, You look at these things happening to you and you feel like you're getting all this junk jumped on you, but you start realizing when you think of it as fertilizer, then the attack from the enemy loses its sting because what does fertilizer do? It produces green growth. It produces lush harvests, an amazing bumper crop. And so it stinks and it isn't pleasant, but it helps you grow. So I pass the poop and I keep on trudging, pausing for breath, trying to lower my heart rate. a couple times. God was awesome, sent me a really cool breeze, and I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Because, you're like, it's, I don't know, 50 degrees outside, and you'd think you'd be cold, but you're like taking off the hoodie, your face is flushed, and you're just, whew, and I'm going up, and I start passing people that are coming down the mountain because they were already at the top, and they're coming down, and they're going, good morning, morning, morning. You're like, I hate you. Don't, it's not a good morning. I'm trying not to die here, you just, you kind of like stick out your foot. Is it good morning? Yeah. Good morning. I didn't do that or anything like that. I did do some other juvenile stuff, but I won't share that because it's going to be on television. So, but I thought of this verse at Guys Night Out that I shared. It's 2 Corinthians 13:11. It says, dear brothers and sisters, I close my letter with these last words. Be joyful, grow to maturity, encourage each other, live in harmony and peace, and then the God of love and peace will be with you. And I'm thinking like, they're saying good morning, but that's not really an encouragement. I mean, it's good for you because you're smiling and you're getting off this thing, and I'm just starting. It wasn't enough, but I kept on going. I knew I was getting close, and I was doing this because of you. I was looking for God to give me a message to share with you this morning. I wanted to die. I kind of thought about flopping over the side or the edge a couple times just because I was dying. I'm killing myself with the promise of meeting God at the top, and a fresh revelation was calling me. I couldn't quit now. Past all the whatever, and I'm still going. And suddenly, all of a sudden, I was there. I just come around this corner, and the sun hits my face, and I was on top of the world. And I'm just looking out over Yuma. I'm looking out over Dome Valley, and it's just you kind of get this whole area perspective, and you're taking it all in. And suddenly, all of my problems were gone. Everything that I've been struggling with, all of my personal challenges, things that I'm just going through, because we're all going through stuff, right? Amen, right? It was all beneath me. It was just so far away. And there's this kind of peace that settles over you when you've reached your destination. All the trials and challenges, they seem so small and insignificant. I got to the top, and I said, God, I made it. What do you want me to tell the church? I sat there and I listened. He said, go back down and tell them about your journey. And this was my response. Really? Like I went through all of this, practically killing myself. I mean, I'm in kind of okay, good shape. It didn't take me that long, but really just to go, all right, cool. Now go down and tell them what you did. No, it wasn't awesome. It was a cruel joke from the Lord. It wasn't. It was actually awesome. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, I just got here, right? And people they're all taking pictures and they're just like, oh, yay, and all that kind of stuff. And I literally actually ended up running into a person who, as I was walking up the mountain, this gal was coming down. She used to be in my youth and a long time ago. And I was like, oh, that looks like so-and-so. It'd be so crazy if I ran into her, though. And it wasn't her, though. And then when I came around the mountain, I heard someone go, Pastor B? And I'm like, shut up. And we were just laughing. Like, oh my gosh, I was just talking about you. I was just thinking about you. That's so weird. Can you take a picture of me? Okay, thank you. It's great because, trying to do like a dead pose while you're doing like selfie style, it just would have been awkward. But I just sat there and I'm like, okay, I got to go down and tell the story. And I also felt like God was saying more than that. He says, go down and be the difference. Be different. Don't be like everyone else. The things that were bothering you when you were coming up, don't be that way. Be different. We're called to be different. As Christians, as followers of Christ, we are not to be like the world. We're in it, but not of it. And so I just felt this in so I'm like, okay. So instead of, crop dusting and hating, just throw that one out there. I began to encourage everyone on the way down. But I wasn't doing the good morning, good morning, good morning. And they're just looking like, I hate you. I was like, no, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be different. I literally at the top of of Telegraph Pass, it's kind of like you're just trudging and you're like, great, another curve, another turn. And you literally just come up around this turn and you're there. So I kind of just turn around and I'm going down and literally probably no further from me to that pillar, about like maybe 10 to 15 feet away. There's this dad, an older gentleman-ish, he's older than me, that's all I'm going to say, but I'm 29 plus shipping and handling, so whatever, I couldn't figure out his age. But he had like a 20-year-old-ish son and maybe a teenage daughter, and they're kind of standing there looking down at him, and he's done. Like you could just tell he's done. He's just sitting there, he's breathing. I passed him, on the way up, and I just felt bad. But I'm looking at him, and they're kind of that little bit of that concern, like, oh, come on, Dad, and he's sitting there, and I looked at him, I was like, bro, you are literally like 10 feet away from the top. You are almost there. Don't give up. You literally, I can see it. You're almost there. And he looks at me and he smiles and he goes, thank you. And then kind of started to get up. And then I was just like, yeah, walking down and, and you're walking along and then there's these other people and they kind of look at you and they're like, good morning. And I'm like, good morning. You're almost there. I'm like, you're more than halfway there. Seriously, you just got to go around that curve. And all of a sudden I found myself, saying, you're almost there. You've got a couple, just one more, this. And then these one gals, they're like, oh yeah, we're good. But tell the three that lagged behind. And so I'm kind of going along and all of a sudden I hear, they're right there. And I'm like looking, and then I look and these three gals come around the corner and they're doing that thing, not even... There's no determination at all. It's sheer will and determination that their legs are still moving. And they're just looking up and they look up and I'm like, girls, you really, I go, this is the hardest part. You just got to get around that curve. And then you're going to turn around and then it's just a straight shot up and you're there. And they were like, thank you. Like they were hungry and they were thirsty for an encouragement, for a dose of a shot of hope, of anything. And I found myself being an encourager, but more than that, it was being a guide, being a direct, like I just came through what you came through and I hated me too, and you're almost there. And I'm telling you, church, so many of you are almost there. You just need to go 10 more feet. It's just one more month. It's just a couple more weeks. It's just, you got it. You're just on the cusp and you're just on the edge. And I know it's hard and I know you want to quit and I know you want to give up, but God is telling you He is not done yet. Don't give up. You're almost there. And I'm telling you, being that person and encouraging people as I was going down and everything changed. My attitude changed. I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't angry anymore. I had compassion and it felt good. And I realized I was like, church, we have this good news. We have this amazing story to tell. We have the ability. We're called to be encouragers and to encourage people and share with them the journey that we're on and how they're almost there and how it's just a couple more steps. It's just reaching out to Jesus one time. Church, I can tell you, because of you, I realized in the midst of my journey that I could say, because of you, Jesus, I know I'm not alone. Because of you, Jesus, I know I'm forgiven. Because of you, Jesus, everything's going to be all right. Because of you, Jesus, I know I'm loved. Because of you, Jesus, despite what I think of myself or what others say about me, you say I'm worthy. Because of you, Jesus, miracles can and will still happen in my life. Because of you, Jesus, my failures become your victories. So my message for you today, and my hope and my challenge is that out of my misery, you might have seen little glimpses of your own life, the things that are happening in your life. And I think it's important to recognize You don't have to walk on a mountain, go climb up a mountaintop to talk to Jesus, to have this godly revelation. I'm just sadistic that way, I guess. No, it can happen right here, right now. You understand that no matter what you've done, no matter where you are, no matter what's happened, the choices you've made in your life, whether good or bad, especially the bad, the enemy's really good at hit and replay on all the bad things you've ever done and said. Come on. There's just the peace in knowing that Jesus loves you. He's called you. He wants you to walk in freedom. He wants you to walk in knowing that you are worthy. You think the things that you've done are a shock? Well, of course, they might be a shock to people around you if we really knew the bad things you've done in your life, but you don't think Jesus knew? He took it all on himself when he went up on that cross. And when he said, "It is finished," I want you to hear, when he said it is finished, it means the guilt, the shame, the sorrow, it's done. You don't have to carry it anymore. You aren't supposed to carry it anymore because I took it all for you. And all you have to say is thank you. I receive your gift of salvation. Forgive me. I mean, it's funny we say, forgive me, I already have. But it's owning it. It's accepting the fact we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. We are all flawed and we all fall short of God's glorious standard. And the thing though is when you admit it, when you own it and you say, Jesus, I've messed up and I know you know I've messed up and I don't have to rehash all the bad things I've done in my life, but I believe that you forgave me when you died on the cross and that you love me. And although I may not feel it, I know I'm worthy. And I know that one day that I know that I'm going to be with you in paradise for eternity.